The image that I have here is a really great image that I just found in one of our Europe travel brochures for the Europe trip that the Spanish department and the art department are going to be going on. And this is Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris, so I'll be using that as an example of exactly how to proportion off this piece of paper, and then we'll go over the gridding process as well. So hopefully everybody remembers that to grid or to proportion off your large piece of paper that you're going to be drawing on, you need to take the image that you're going to be using and place it in one of the lower corners of the page. It doesn't really matter, just as long as it's lined up in one of the corners, okay? And then what you're going to do, you can do one of two things. You can either leave this here, or you can make a very, very light mark on your page with a pencil. Now today I'm going to be using pen just so that we can get an idea, well, not really an idea, but just to make it so that it's more visible for everybody to see. So here is the dot right here that I just made from the corner of the image here down in this corner that you can barely see on the edge of the screen to here. So now what I do to make sure that everything is proportional, take the ruler, and I can kind of see exactly where the corner of my page is here on the edge of this tape. The paper is really, really curly. So I can take my ruler, put it right on the corner down here of the paper, and then make sure that it lines up very, very nice and neat with the dot. And then obviously my ruler's not long enough here. So what I'm going to do is I'll probably just make another dot about right here. Since I'm working with pen, I don't want to have all kinds of black lines going across my page. I'll extend the ruler this way, and I will make a mark right where it goes off the edge of the page over here. So you can kind of start to see that mark right there. Now, this is where the measurement comes in. And I know some of us have a little bit of trouble with fractions. So the rulers are laid out so that they're broken down into 16ths, the ones that you all will be using. So each little mark is 1/16 on a ruler. What I'm going to do now to make sure that I cut the same size, the same distance from corner to cut here is I'm going to measure down at this end. So I've got, and of course my ruler is worn down here, but I have right at about 11 and a half inches over here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my ruler down here, put 11 and a half on the corner, mark up here at 0, okay, and I know that that's where I need to make my cut. So I'm going to take 2 pieces of tape, because again, this paper is really, really curly. I'm just going to tape down here. I'm going to tape down here because I'm going to go ahead and make this cut right here. Now, you all are more than welcome to use the mat cutter in the art room. All right, so this now is directly proportional to the size of the reference image that I have right here. Let's set that up there. So now, how do you grid off your reference image? It's really, really simple to grid off the original image. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take the picture, try and line up the edges as closely as I absolutely can. I'm going to fold it in half, just like that, so that I can then take, see, I'll do it up here where you can see it, so that I can then take that crease, I can draw a black line right across. And let's see if we can see it a little bit better. You can kind of see, whoops, there we go. You can see the black line that I drew right on that crease, right down the middle of the page. So now to continue the gridding, I'm going to I'm going to fold the edges right into that line that I drew. Or if you haven't drawn that line in there in the crease, you just fold it into the crease. Do the same thing to the other side. Fold it in so that it goes right to the line that you drew as well. And now those 3 folds created 4 equal columns, okay, on the page. So now I've got 4 columns. I want to create a total of 16 boxes. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the exact same process in the opposite direction. I'm going to take this image, I'm going to fold it, just like that, okay? And then I'm going to take the edges of this and fold them straight into the middle, just like that. The cuts on this piece of paper are a little bit crooked because I cut them out with scissors just out of a magazine, so it's going to be slightly off, but for the most part it'll work just fine, for example. Alright, so now I have a total of 16 boxes on this piece of paper. And again, it's kind of difficult to see on here, but now what I would do is with either a red or maybe a blue ballpoint pen, probably not blue on here because there's so much blue in the picture. So now I've got 16 very, very equal gridded off marks right here, and I'm sorry for the extremely bright highlight from the light, but you can kind of see it. Now that I have the reference image gridded off, I need to come in here and I need to grid off this drawing right here. I'm going to move the paper. So I'm going to take this, and since my ruler is not big enough, I do have a ruler on this green mat that I'm going to use to help me grid this off. So I'm just going to take this as far as the length goes and just put it right down on the edge of this white cut mat, right, or this green cut mat right here. Alright, so pardon the cut in the video. It got a little bit off because I didn't realize that you couldn't see me measuring down at the bottom edge of the page down here. My fingers are off the screen right at the edge of the paper. So there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and measure in up here. The piece of paper is 22.5 inches long. So half of 22.5 inches is 11 1/4. So right here, there's one mark. And then half of 11 1/4 inches is 5 5/8. So 5 1/2 plus 1/8 of an inch right here. Okay, it's 2 marks past the half point on the ruler. Because remember, 1 mark is a 1/16 of an inch, 2/16 is an eighth. So again, over here, I'm going to go in, measure 5 5/8 right here. Okay, so I've got my lengths of the page. Let me see if I can fix this light. Alright, so we got our gridding done across the top edge. I've also got the gridding done across the bottom edge, which is slightly out of your all's frame of view. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and draw those grid lines right here, which is looking a little bit off. Let me measure this. Alright, so the paper, I'm noticing right now that the paper is a little bit crooked down here at this end. Probably just because it was torn crooked. So it's about 1/4 of an inch off down there. So that's 5 5/8. 5 5/8. Alright. So I'm going to go ahead and just trim this down real quick. So, because the edge down here is 5 5/8. Okay, so now we're ready to go. Alright. So now I can go ahead and start gridding this off. Oops. Try not to miss your mark. When you have a pencil, it's a little bit easier because you can just erase. So there's 1, 2, and this paper is very, very crooked, so my grid lines are slightly at an angle. Alright, so now to get my marks on the sides here, okay, going across the page, I am going to do the exact same process, but just on this edge over here. So I'm going to measure the length of this paper. The length of this paper is 11.5 inches. So half of 11.5 is 5 3/4 of an inch. So there's 5 3/4 here. And then down here, we've got 5 3/4. Half of 5 3/4, half of, well, it's like 5 7/8, I believe, or 2 7/8. I'm just gonna double check. There's 2 7/8. Yeah, 2 7/8. So I'm gonna go again, 2 7/8. I'm across here now, and I can just go ahead and start gridding off my paper. Now, what this grid is going to do is it is going to serve as a tool for you to start getting things onto the page in correct locations. It's not going to serve as a tool to make sure that your perspective is correct. At some point, you're going to have to start picking up where your vanishing points are. And we talked about vanishing points, so the vanishing points more than likely for just about every image that's chosen are going to be off the page. So, if they are off the page, you're going to have to create those wings that kind of come off the edge, okay? And your vanishing point might be like out here about where my index finger is. So be aware that you might have to put those little strips of paper on the edge to start checking your perspective at some point. Now, what you do want to do with this grid, like I said, is to make sure that you're starting to get things on the page accurately. So I'm going to start drawing probably right here in this top quadrant of the paper. And what I'm going to do is just try and figure out exactly where everything is. So I know that the Tower of Notre Dame right here is about right in the middle. It's going up. It goes pretty close to the top. It slants up just a little bit towards the top of the page. It comes back down. It goes over towards the edge of the grid line. And then it kind of comes down. And then you have this second tower that's back over here that starts to come up about here. And right at this grid line is about where it starts to go down. So I'm using the grids as kind of a coordinate system to measure and figure out exactly where everything needs to be. See how I've got this area right in here, blown up here. And again, very rough. I haven't gone back and done any kind of refining. I haven't added any details, okay? You see the trees that are coming in this grid system right in here, okay? And then if we go up over this way, you can see how I've started to draw the roof line of Notre Dame right here, okay? Let's kind of get a little bit of an idea for it. The quality of the camera is not super great. So here's the trees that are coming up over here. Okay, and again, I haven't gotten down into all of this area down here. But when you're closer up, you can get an idea for the grid, again, that's on the picture. And then you can get an idea for the grid on the final piece of paper here, okay? So hopefully this helps you guys out. You're not going to be getting into any color work today, but you should definitely have everything gridded off. You should be working on the black pieces of paper, and you should have a pretty good amount of your drawing roughed in by the next time we see each other on Wednesday. So good luck today, and if you have any questions, come in and see me tomorrow. Those of you that haven't gotten any of the supplies, the black paper that we're going to be using is in the rail board boxes. It is over by the door that you guys, it's in the paper rack that's by the door that you guys come into in the classroom. So head over there, grab yourself a piece of paper, make sure you proportion it off correctly, get your gridding done, and then go ahead and start drawing onto the page. Have a good day, ladies. And again, sorry, couldn't be there.